Hi there. My name is Young. I'm a real estate agent. Today, we're going to talk about closing costs for pre-construction condos and pre-construction freeholds. As I do help a lot of my clients, it's always comes up as a question. Oh, so how much is the closing cost? How much is it going to be? Roughly, I do say if you are not an investor, then I would say between 3 to 6% of closing costs altogether. And if you're an investor, then you also have to pay for $24,000 in HST. That would make your closing costs between around 5 to 7%, to be honest. And of course, depending on the price of the home, it could be lower, it could be higher. So there is a little bit of variable as well. And I wouldn't be able to give you all the numbers like off the bat, but I'll try to I will give you, while we're looking at the video, you'll be able to see the explanation and prices as you go along on the way as well. Since we're talking about pre-construction only, we're going to talk about the least heavy hitter, which is the miscellaneous builder adjustments. So miscellaneous builder adjustments, they could include mortgage discharge cost, document fees, registration fees, other administration general administration charges. These costs are usually a couple $100 per each of these items. There could be more items, as you can know, as miscellaneous costs, but all of them together, they can add up to $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000 easily as well. So these are some of the costs I just never really looked up until when you have your statement adjustment. There's a lot of these paperwork fees that you realize that you have to pay when you're closing. So that's something you need to know as well. The next one is, this is for condominiums only, and this is reserve fund contribution. So usually when you're closing on your pre-construction condo, on your statement of adjustment, you would see on your statement of adjustment reserve fund contribution. And usually those are around 2 months of your maintenance fee. So let's say you have 600 square feet condo and your maintenance fee is about 80 or let's say $1 per square feet. Then you're paying $600 a month, right? But with $2 month deposit reserve fund, then that'll be double amount of it. So it's $1,200 on your closing as well. So that is something you need to understand. And reserve fund is important because if you're buying a condo, every month you're paying per condo reserve fund and you're contributing to it. With a brand new condo being built and is registered, there is no reserve fund. So that's why you need the money in case you need to do something to the condo. Of course, you have tear and warranty. So within 1 year, everything is really covered by tear and warranty. But anything other than that, as you go along, as a condo ages, you need to start fixing by condominium reserve fund by itself. So that's why it needs to have strong reserve fund as you're living there. If you don't have enough reserve funds, you have to pay for a special assessment, right? So you want to make sure that your condo always have enough reserve fund for down the road, any big maintenance that they have to do. So next is utility hookups. When you do buy a new property, it needs to connect utility lines to the bill unit or the freehold home. And if you're buying a resale, you're only paying for, registration fee. But because you're buying a new house or new condo, now it needs to have machinery for it to, have all the electricity or water come into your house. And that costs money. And the builder doesn't pay for it. The builder, just passes that cost to the buyers. So you really, it could be between $1,000. It used to be cheaper, like $500, but nowadays they're around $1,000 to like $2,000 to $3,000 as well. So those things exist, and those are part of the big closing costs as well. So you need to make sure that, and this is not for condominium. This is not just for condominium. This is for condominium and freehold as well. So this is something all pre-construction buyers have to be aware at the end of the day. This is going to be costing like $1,000 per item to $2,000 per item. So just letting you know. And next is the Terran warranty. It's everyone's favorite thing to do. Going to PDI and finding deficiency across the house. It's one of my things that I like to do as well. I have conducted a lot of PDIs in the past, and mine as well, as well as my clients' PDI as well. PDI is a very important step. There's a step that when you do before you move in to your property and find any deficiencies with your eyes or however you find them, and making sure that the builder is aware of these problems so that builder can fix them down the road. As for myself, I did have a lot of Terran warranty items for my freehold houses and my condo, a lot more on my freehold houses, and I was able to get the builder to fix everything that was on the list, or at least make sure that when they were saying it doesn't need to be fixed, they had to explain why it wasn't under their warranty to fix. And so it's very important. Of course, the builder doesn't pay for that as well. The builder pass it down to the buyer, so the buyer pays for it, and you'll see it in your statement of adjustment. And you can see as I was talking about the Terran warranty, you will probably see on this screen that how much it's going to cost for how much the house is worth. So the minimum you have to pay for is like $661. That's including that's after taxes. So that's something you need to be aware. Most houses in GTA, they start like $700 to $1.5 million, and they can weigh from $1,900 to $2,800 between that price range. Just that you're aware that it's there and you have to pay for them when you're closing. And next is the legal fees. And legal fees are for you to pay for solicitor so that they can finish up the deeds, put you on the title and transfer the ownership from the builder to you directly. You can't close without a lawyer, so you definitely need to pay for these services. And they're the last frontier to make sure that they tell you what kind of how much money you need to close, and what kind of items that you have on your closing, what kind of items of cost you have to pay to the builder on your statement of adjustment. They're the one that makes that statement adjustment for you. And it is technically a little bit higher than your normal AP buy and sale. You do have to pay for, when you are buying pre-construction, first you have to pay for reviewing of APS initially, and then you have to pay another fee for closing. So those are two separate closings as well. And used to be, and even for me, when I was initially closing with lawyers for the first time, they were around $500, but they're like a little bit higher. They are around $2,000 to $3,000 these days. I think a lot of them are $3,000 generally. So that's something you need to understand. And this is 2026. Down the road, it might get more expensive as time goes. So just letting you know, don't be surprised when you're watching this in 2030s or 2040s. Next, this is called interim occupancy fee, and this is only for condominiums. So every condominiums are usually high in rise. So they are from 20 stories, 30 stories, 40 stories. It could go as high as 100 stories. So that is something you have to understand. And if you're the lowest on, let's say your 10th floor on the 60, 70 floor, 10th floor has already done their construction. So as people start living there, that's called interim occupancy. But people on the 60th floor, 70th floor, they're still under construction. It still takes time for them to finish that product, right? To finish those units. So this is time when people on lower floors start paying interim occupancy. And interim occupancy is not a mortgage payment. You pay interest portion to the builder directly, and you pay assessed, not accurate property taxes, but assessed property taxes and assessed maintenance fee. So all these money are going to the builder directly. So this is not going to your principal payments on your mortgage or anything like that. So you have to understand that these exist. For freeholds, you do not have interim occupancy. The moment the whole house is closed, then you get your closing. So you don't have to pay interim occupancy fee. And this applies to freeholds with POTL fee as well. Because it's freehold, You don't have to pay for interim occupancy when your house is ready. You get ownership transferred from builder to you directly using a solicitor. So those are the big guys, and last two big guys are the biggest guys that are always the biggest heavy hitters when it comes to pre-construction closing. Anyways, going back, the second heaviest hitter is development charges. And development charges, there are three of them. There are development charges levies, and there is park levies, and there's education levies. Every one of them are different, and they go up and down in prices and cost. Anyway, so there are three of those levies, and the levies are there. The development charges or development levies are fees charged to the builder by the city to pay for the infrastructure needed to support new communities. In pre-construction, those costs are often passed directly to the buyers on closing. So builders pay first, and you pay the builder afterwards. There may be caps, and most of the time, the builder will advertise that there's development charge cap by like $7,000, $10,000, $15,000. But that means only development charge portion is capped. So park levies and education levies, those are not capped. So that's something you need to be aware of. And these are the stuff that you can add caps on when you're doing initial APS review with solicitor. You need to make sure that you hire a solicitor when you're signing APS, and make sure that they contact the developers, solicitors to try to have caps on these, or at least try to have cap on it. I'll tell you that for sure. You need that. If you can get it, it's very important that you have it. Yes. So these funds, these costs directly goes into new road and road widening projects that support the community, water and sewer system, which is very important, electricity lines, those are very important. And if it needs transit expansion, that is part of it as well. And there are obviously park and education levies. So a park and a recreational facilities, that goes into that as well. And fire station and community infrastructures and police stations, those are all part of the levies, as well as school and public facility as well. So all these money that they gather from all these people that are buying in the community, they use this money to build the infrastructure that supports the area, supports the community. So you're paying for them, but ultimately, it's needed infrastructure. That's why you pay for it. Anyway, so that's a lot. Those are the costs that you have to pay for when you're buying pre-construction. At the end, and the most important thing, this is for anybody who's buying, whether you're buying resale or buying pre-construction, is the land transfer tax. So land transfer tax is a government tax you pay when the property officially becomes yours on your closing date. So in Ontario, it's based on the purchase price, and you only have to pay for provincial part. But if you are buying in Toronto, you have to pay for municipal land transfer tax as well. So essentially, you're paying double land transfer tax if you're buying in Toronto. If you're buying outside of Toronto, it's just Ontario portion of it. Land transfer tax is, it increases as the property prices goes up. So it used to. Funny story with the land transfer tax. When the houses were like $100,000 and they were implementing land transfer tax and saying that 50, 60 years ago, this is for the rich people only. You don't have to pay this land transfer tax as much if you are, middle class, low class, don't worry. But, as time passed, now home prices in Toronto are like average $1 million. So now everybody's paying for these rich land transfer tax. And guess within this year, Toronto announced luxury tax if it's over $3 million. And guess what? Down the road, 30, 40, 50 years later, that's the that's the tax that everybody has to pay. So when you say you're going to tax the rich people, that comes back to us eventually as middle class people who are working hard, trying to climb up the ladder. So all these rich taxes is just not always good for us at the end of the day. our dollars are inflated every year. So the dollar value depreciates over time. And so you have to pay more taxes, more dollars to your property taxes or anything like that, right? Anyways, sorry, I sidetracked a little bit. Um, that is something that's what in my mind. I want to make sure that you understand that, and make sure that. Anyways, going back to land transfer tax, it's the biggest and heaviest hitter, and it costs the most. It's important that we make sure that and it applies to all property purchases, and it's calculated on full purchase price, including upgrades, HST, and everything. I hope with my video, you got to see how much, what kind of closing costs are there, and everything depends on most of the things that we talked about today, depending on the purchase price of how much the home is worth. Then you have to pay additional amount to a lot of different things, like land transfer tax, development charges, interior warranty, legal fees, everything. So everything in the list here really do depend on the purchase price. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day. Bye.